Hello everyone, my group would like to present about a narrative analysis on COVID-19 survivors in India. Our study explores the narrative of COVID-19 survivors' experience of being infected with COVID-19, which published on the Times of India. More than half of India's population that is infected by COVID-19 are from the age group of 20 to 40 years old. We looked at stories shared by COVID-19 survivors in their 20s and 30s. Digital media utilizes these stories to commercialize their news portals alongside encouraging social awareness. The narrative enables us to understand how these stories are constructed on digital news websites. These stories may assist medical practitioners' institutional interaction with COVID-19 patients. Our study aims to explore on how narrative of Indian COVID-19 survivors are presented on digital news portal and investigate some digital discursive features complementing this narrative within the web page. We looked at how the narrative of Indian COVID-19 survivors structured on the Times of India and what are some digital discursive features on the Times of India webpage that published their narrative.
Mainly divided into three parts. The first one is about narrative analysis. Among these three articles, the Assamese one was the most straightforward and easy to comprehend because it had a smooth flow of methodology. As for the second part about survivors of critical illness, one is about cancer survivorship, the other is about COVID-19 survivors. Both triangulated different approaches to make conclusions reliable, and various linguistic features were found which build dramatic tension, increase realism, and also induce emotional response. The last part of digital discursive feature, the article we found about it reveals the features which is really researched on. It helps us to realize that multimodality and other digital features are included in online media. And also because this research data is quite similar to us, which inspires us to explore some discursive features on it rather than stick on the narration itself. So based on our literature review, we comes to the research gap. Firstly, much researches were done via psychology, sociology, and other medical perspectives, and most of them are in quantitative methods. And secondly, mentioning digital media, previous researchers mainly focused on the narration, the written part, rather than look at the whole page in totality. Then comes to our methodology. We utilized the qualitative method and also purposive sampling method, and the ethical consideration can refer to AOIR Internet Research Guideline. How we collect and select our data, we utilized the COVID-19 patient story or experience as the keywords to search online. We find that the Times of India is quite related to our topic. There were 5 narratives from India survivors of COVID-19 of different ages. Finally, we selected the 3 of them from the age group of 21 to 40. As we justified in our social issue part, half of the India population of COVID patients are from this age group. Then comes to the approaches. Among these 4 different narrative analysis approaches, we finally decided to use the structure analysis of Nabov and Volsky's framework, which is subdivided into abstract, orientation, complicating action, evaluation, result, and coda. Why we choose this framework? Because structure analysis helps us to do the structure comparison and also enables us to keep track of the changeability of these narratives. What's more, it also helps us to understand how these narratives are presented and organized on digital multimedia. Then comes to our procedure of analysis. Firstly, according to RQ1, upon selection of data, all the narrations were color-coded to characterize them into different sections with reference to the 6 stages. And then we want to emphasize that in order to enhance intercoder reliability, we done all the coding together. We comment and justify all the points on our shared document, and all the different opinions were reconciled until we reached a consensus. And the results we utilize the two charts. One is about quantity and the other is about the patterns of stages so that we can easily compare them across these three different narrations. As for the RQ2, we identify all the digital discursive features of this web page and we analyze it together and also divide it into two categories, which my partner will discuss it.
Now we demonstrate our sample analysis of the first research question. To begin with, we color-coded each stage based on Labov and Wolski's structural analysis approach. We then identified these stages in our dataset. As is shown, this slide displays how such identification was performed in one narrative of our dataset. We found all stages except abstract in the narratives. Nevertheless, abstract was found in the news article's heading.
So as for the sample analysis for research question 2, what we did was that we took a full view of the web page of the article. So this is where all the 5 articles were, and from here we had chosen the 3 narratives, right? So for RQ2, we are actually looking at the entire web page as the text, as one text. So here are just some examples of how we analyze them. Like we looked at all the discursive features. We've got hyperlinks over here for social media sites, so you can like share this article. You can even choose to print or email them. You can actually click on these, which actually lead you to further options that you can subscribe to Corona stuff, or you can look at daily cases, and so there are actually more features accompanying the article here. And if you clicked on one of those icons, these are the links that your click would actually lead you to. So like if you clicked on the social media icons on the left, like this one, then you would have the Facebook window popping up. Or if you had clicked on the email one, then you'll have this option popping up for you to actually go further in deciding, if you want to share it by email. And this one has the statistics. This was the one at the bottom the bottom right corner. So this shows that the hyperlinks actually lead on to further actions that you can actually do. So this is like the extra things that we have on a digital media compared to something static like reading a physical newspaper.
Let's first move on to our findings and discussion from research question 1. Generally speaking, the narratives follow the sequence of stages. 5 out of 6 stages were found in all narratives, and they are listed out in the bracket. Next, although no abstract was observed within the text, it was discovered in the article headings to represent all 3 texts. This slide presents specific findings of our structural analysis. The finding number 7 was highlighted, from which we will demonstrate a sample finding and discussion in the next slide. Now we can observe the complicating actions and evaluations mingling together in the text. As complicating actions of what happened was being narrated, the narrators tend to evaluate on their own narratives. More specifically, while the concerning complicating action was gradually progressing, the narrators reflect on their personal sentiment and comment in the midst of these thrilling events. In our sample data, a pregnant lady narrates the experience of being infected with COVID-19, but she did not present any symptom. She then narrated the process of being admitted into the hospital and giving birth to her child. She also narrated the experience of being alone in the ward, seeing her child virtually after giving birth, and finally, all is well. It's worth noticing that the mingling of complicating actions and evaluation took place in 3 key stages: the surprise of being asymptomatic, the worry of her unborn child, and the relief knowing all is well. Normally, survivors of critical illness become disorderly when suffering from post-traumatic disorder or likewise post-event psychological shock. Apparently, the narrator was still suffering from post-event fear, more or less. since her narration did not generally follow the sequence of complicating actions first and then followed by evaluation. The mass of her narration, or such mingling, brings forth dramatic tension in this aspect, in that the events happen one after another and they are all spiced with evaluation. Also, since readers naturally regard evaluation as approaching the end of a narrative, such mingling brings readers intensified uncertainty as for not knowing what will happen next and when such narration will terminate. This mingling also increased realism as if there were a depiction of what occurred, which realizes montage effect as if readers were watching a movie while reading the narratives. Moreover, it induces a course of overcoming such events because the readers can comprehend each stage of stories from the narrative. Additionally, this narrative resonates emotional engagement with the audience or the readers. After mentally experiencing the aforementioned dramatic tension, realism, and comprehending the story thoroughly, readers now develop a sharing emotional sentiment or engagement towards the story. Such discovery of dramatic tension, the increase of realism and emotional engagement was also confirmed by Cho et al. 2017 that we have previously explained in our literature review. In short, the mingling of complicating actions and evaluations brings forth emotional elements inclusive of dramatic tension, realism, the induction of the event, and the resonation of emotional engagement with the readers.
Okay, so here are our findings for research question 2. First, we've got basic digital discursive features in a web page. These are stuff that you can see on any genre kind of website. So these are some examples. We have here like the icon that you can change font sizes, to increase or decrease the size, and then there's also icon to translate to other languages. There are also links to other types of India online platforms, like their YouTube channel, their Instagram account, their Facebook page. Okay, so these enhances the reader's ease in reading, and this actually helps a better outreach, breaking language barriers. And most of all, the multimodal options, there are different audio visual aids to deliver the news. So like if you're lazy to actually read the news article, you can probably just read their Instagram version of it because Instagram is like super summarized. Okay, then we have the interactional digital discursive features that we have identified. So here you can actually have, there are more things you can actually do with the news that you're reading. So there are the icons that are hyperlinks to social medias, like Facebook and all that. And then icons that link to print and email options. There are options to subscribe to COVID-19 news and then live updates. And you've also got another one that's outbreak updates. And also, most interestingly, you have the option to post a comment. So you can actually respond to the text. There's the next thing you can actually do about the text compared to if you read it in a static newspaper. You can't really respond to the text. It will be just in your inner thoughts, right? But here you can actually act on it. Yeah, so you can either share it, you can comment on it. Okay, and so the benefits of this live updates, especially, is that it's instantaneous. It's current, and also when you're able to interact with others by sharing comments, this develops a community of shared interest. So you can actually communicate with others who are also reading the same news. And this is just a sample and an extract of how we analyze them. Of course, there are actually so many, many, many more features around the entire text that we're looking at, but these were just this is just an extract. So generally, what we saw in the web page is there are overlapping combinations of genres with multiple communicative purposes. So like we've got, you can either share, you can click to read more articles or subscribe to more news. Okay, so interdiscursivity generally it's a combination of the text with social events and practices. In this case, the readers can engage themselves with the digital social community, right? This is one step further compared to when you're just reading a newspaper. And the interdiscursivity that we see here has two communicative purposes. One is to provide information and awareness of the topic, and of course, to persuade readers to potentially subscribe or promote their website. So here, commercialization ties in with online media. Of course, there's no free lunch. So there are also like stuff like sponsored advertisements. Uh,
In conclusion, the study contributes to our understanding of COVID-19 survivors from the structure that their narrative are established. This may help medical staff, relevant stakeholders, and general public to have more in-depth understanding of COVID-19 patients. These digital discursive features not only help us to deepen our awareness on how these narratives are realized, but also guide the further research in exploring discursivity of digital platforms. Our study focused on three narratives from one online news website. The narration may have been curated by the editorial board before being published. They may also be exclusion of some parts. For future research, the researcher can collect data from various online news portals. This structural analysis of COVID-19 stories benefits the media. The patterns from our findings can assist them to construct the interview questions. It is easy for the media to document their interview section. They also can create a new style of writing a story on survivors. These are the references. With that, thank you.